What's going on, boys? VenomousStare back with high-level ZVP. This is Pili versus Nerchio. Pili's up here in the top left of Abyssal Reef, and I skipped the boring stuff. That is the standard gate expand, fast expand from Zerg nonsense we see every single game, and quite honestly, gets a little monotonous. I've casted these players before, so it's not like I need to retell their stories again and again and again. But I will talk about briefly their styles, of course. Nerchio is a Polish Zerg, very good macro player. He was recently selected to be a representative in GSL vs. the World, which is essentially a tournament occurring very soon that you should check out. And the tournament is kind of like the Olympics or WCG, if you follow esports, and WCG was a tournament that's not around anymore anyway. It's basically the best Koreans versus the best foreigners. And the fans got to pick, and as well as there were some seeded players. Nerchio was unequivocally one of the best players and was chosen to represent foreigners. What is a foreigner, you might be asking, especially if you're silver or below and don't really play a ton of this game, or perhaps that you just started. A foreigner is a non-Korean. The StarCraft 2 scene is so heavily dominated by Koreans that a non-Korean, whether it be a European from Poland, or Germany, or an American, they're all considered foreigners. South Koreans are just that good at StarCraft 2. So both of these guys are foreigners, but Nerchio, very soon, is going to take on the best Koreans. It will be exciting to watch. Nerchio is one of these brutally honest players who will just tell it like it is every single time. He's going to try to scout a bit here, and looks like Pili's trying to take a base. So with that probe coming out, that's a huge tell for Nerchio. Nerchio noticed he had an Overlord over here, so he probably would have seen anyway. Oracle coming out here. Does Nerchio see it? No, he doesn't. This is actually really big. Notice this little platform is why this Overlord is placed in this position. Platforms hide Overlords. So no spores yet. Notice that this spore is just now being started. That is way late, and Nerchio is going to take damage here. And he might actually lose a lot before he even arrives and is able to save his friends. Think Goku in the Saiyan Saga. Come on, Goku. I'm not going to do a full-blown Krillin scream, but this spore, really a bit tardy. As Andy Bernard would say, past the tardy sauce. Nerchio does have good saturation in his main, albeit he is sporeless. The third base is on the way, and what does Nerchio see? Well, if I'm going to click the correct vision, he sees it, Stargate, so that's a little bit late, you know, that's kind of, that's just not good whenever you see a Stargate after it kills all your drones. That is like the last time you want to see a Stargate. Lair coming up and finally finishing for Nerchio at the natural. +1 melee is on the way, and a Roach War. And notice that he is preemptively blocked here. Now this is an extremely intelligent move, because if Pili goes for a depths, Nerchio is going to be able to kind of limit the direction that they can come from, and the fact that there are rocks here means that he isn't committed to this wall in. So Nerchio has really done a great job sim-sitting here, because Protoss can kind of sneak over here around the left path like Pili just did. Stand right here, you're never really going to have creep forking down here. And then look at that, Pili tried to go in, and he did that thing where you click in Fog of War, there's a wall, and the units just go, ugh, and try to go into the wall and die. Now, I'm going to pause very briefly because there is so much going on. There are 2 Stargates on the way with the Fleet Beacon. Pili is known for his air play. I've seen him go air on this map specifically before. Now, this Adept kind of looks like something that could potentially be maybe a Resonating Glaives, maybe a push. Nerchio doesn't really know how much Pili is committing to this. Actually, he is just now scouting, and this information will just now be revealed that it is going to be a hard air commitment. But up until this moment, when Pili is encroaching onto the creep, Nerchio, our boy, King Arthur, didn't know. So it is going to be air, and not hard commit, Resonating Glaive, or +1 ground. Now this is extraordinarily relevant, because if this was Resonating Glaive with some more gates, Nerchio might actually be hard-pressed to hold it, because he does not have roach speed, although I'm going to go to units, and yeah, with 31 lings, he probably would have been okay, but it is worth noting the huge difference here. Hey, Elise, quit. There is, worth noting, a huge difference between the resonating glaive adept pressure and just the sort of fanning around and tellying out like a PK or aggression that we see here from Pili. He's not really committing to this. He's scouting around, he's seeing what Nerchio's doing, he's pressuring Nerchy a bit, he's wanting him to make not drones, because that essentially, ooh, as the Gooby, aka the Oracle, goes down, as Roach Speed and +1 is about to finish. Whenever you play RTS, you want to limit vision, so killing an Oracle is absolutely huge, and that might seem obvious as a couple hatches come up here for Nerchio, but you always want to be able to deceive your opponent or misrepresent information or hide information and get little edges, because an intelligent opponent will take the information they're given and try to react accordingly. So a lot of times if you can intentionally misinform your opponent, you can make them make the incorrect decision for what you're actually doing. Now the fact that Pili was poking around with stalkers, with adepts, meant that he was trying to avoid being deceived, and even though he didn't actually get resonating glaives early, man, that is a lot of syllables, resonating glaives. It's a hell of a lot easier to just say charge, which is of course the zealot upgrade. And the glaives telly forward again, phase shades, nice two-word mouthful there. And Pili is continuing to scout. Now this is something that can be pretty damn important whenever you're playing against a Zerg as good as Nerchio, especially when you're going mass air. We see air upgrades here for Pili, and he's starting to go into carriers. And why is it important? Why is poking around important? Because if you let Zerg do whatever they want and get to 80 drones, even if you do get a really strong Protoss Death Army, it can be hard to win. Zerg can easily run you over if they have an absurd economy, especially if you've been playing kind of safe and not really abusive. Pili will finally commit here with his adepts, and this is interesting because he is going to get a little bit, and I think he'll be able to get away with some stuff, which actually I think makes it a great move. But without resonating glaives, he won't be able to kill an insane amount. So 7 workers there is okay, but if we go to units, it's pretty much it for the ground army. The infamous hold the line Hodor Zealot is there, okay. But in terms of being able to pressure Nerchio and really threaten, like, okay, I'm going to kill some workers here, Pili really just gave all of that away. Oftentimes in ZVP, it's not the harass itself that is strong, but the threat of harass. And we can see without any adepts out on the map, Nerchio again can be aggressive with Lings. Lots of cannons out here, and Lings are not good against Protoss Air, quite obviously, as carriers and voids are out. Mutalisks are out on the way for Nerchio, and they are out as well as on the way in the moment that I said that statement. Phoenix here harassing, doing what Phoenix do, and again the spore late from Nerchy. Corruptor Muta here is harassing the mineral line, and how many probes died? Just a couple, a paltry 2. With the Void Rays there, the heir of the Zerg is not going to be able to fight. Nerchio is in this classic Zerg position where he wants to be able to pressure Pili. And I want to briefly mention that I'm going to be doing my first ever Zerg livestream tomorrow at 8. I'll be taking a shot for every win. This is Jimmy style and doing a ton of commentary. And the link to that will be in the description. It's VenomousStare, just like my YouTube. Make sure you check that out. As we see King Arthur, he's going to press into the natural. Now lots of cannons being made, and here comes the quintessential Zerg move. Attack in one spot, and then run in with Lings in the other. And a little bit of hotkey mistake there is notice that the Lings ran away, but it doesn't even matter, as it looks like our boy Nerchy actually killed the Nexus, but then kind of ran through the cannons. But look at that, he killed 11 workers. So Nerchio, classic move. Attack with mutas, run in with Lings at another location. Now this is made even better whenever your opponent is going for a very immobile unit composition. Personally, I don't understand why Pili doesn't get the Phoenix range upgrade. And like, yeah, just get the Phoenix range upgrade, make 10 Phoenix, and then these mutas can't do anything. Or at least, here we go, big engagement. Void Rays being turned on. The prismatic alignment, mutas and corruptors here for Nerchy. And the carriers are doing a crap load of damage, but it looks as though the Zerg army is going to be withered away. At least the air-to-air Zerg Corruptor which, you know, when you click on the Zerg Corruptor and try to make it, it says anti-air unit. And Zerg players who have been playing this game for a long time know how much of a farce that is, because Nerchio just gets smashed there, and 2 had the upgrade advantage. Well, it was pretty much even, although +2 on carriers is absolutely insane. So the Protoss player probably had a small advantage in terms of certain upgrades just synergized so well. 11 drones dead for Nerchio, and he's in this awful position where there's this unkillable army right in his face, and he's just desperately trying to rally stuff out of hatcheries. Another problem with all of your units coming from different spots on the map is it always makes your production more campable. Now, it's not true production camping like we see with Terrans. And Nerchio GG's with a smiley face! Nerchio, what a guy. And you know, this smiley face, God, Nerchio, this guy deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for how kind he is. A truly phenomenal human, King Arthur, typing out with the smiley face. What a lad. As Pili takes it with air toss. And we're going to rewind to a moment that every Zerg player has felt 1,000,000 times. And as I am watching a black screen and going to the part of that game, another reminder, I'm doing my first ever stream, Shots for Every Win, link will be in the description, it'll be fun. So Muta Corruptor is the choice here for Nerchy. Now, this is a cute little comp because the Muta allows him to consistently harass. And the Corruptor, now if we click on the Zerg hatchery here, and Nerchio's macro is good, so he doesn't have a lot of idle larvae. And whenever you mouse over this, and you're not in a replay, holy crap, it says Zerg anti-air unit. But every Zerg player who has probably played more than like 20 games knows the feeling of Protoss just has that disgusting air army with voids, and when you try to fight it with Corruptor and Muta, oh man, it is so rough. And I'm not sitting here bitching about, oh, the void ray is so strong. I'm simply making fun of the Corruptor, which is laughable, and I would consider it a paperweight in many ways. A game that was around for 7 years has this unit, the Corruptor, which is pretty much used for 2 things. Killing Colossi, which back in the day, you didn't have Caustic Spittle, which I think, you know, I guess it's something. You had Corrupt, which was a total joke. So you would make about 20 supply of Corruptors to kill the Colossi, which was the popular style. And then what do you know, you had a bunch of useless Corruptors. So I'm done musing about the past. Let's just note a few things here. Let's go to the unit tab. 22 Corruptors! Now, some of these Corruptors are a little bit up here for Nerchio. But the thing about fighting Protoss Air with Void Rays is once they turn on this prismatic alignment, you're not winning any fight. Not with Zerg units. Not unless, you know, like mass parasitic bomb, fungal, AO, like not without mass spellcasters. It is worth noting that, yeah, Nerchio has a lot of Corruptors, but not a lot of spellcasters. Even though that when you click on the hatchery and try to make the Corruptor and it says anti-air unit, in truth, you really do need spellcasters. And I'm not trying to tell Nerchio how to play by any means, of course. He's infinitely better than I am. But at the same time, it is worth noting, as we have no infestation pit, so Nerchio went for double Spire and was hard committing to double pumping Corruptor upgrades and making a lot of Corruptors. So he essentially said, look, Pili, I know you love mass air, you don't even really bother with like ground upgrades, so I'm just going to make mass Corruptor because the Corruptor counters air. That's what it says on the hatchery. And I just want to note that once you have a few carriers are great when they're used in conjunction with a lot of other units. If you just have 3 carriers or 4 carriers, okay, it does a lot of damage, but they're pretty vulnerable. Now, if you mix in carriers with a lot of these devastating Void Rays, watch this. Oh, my bad. I bumped my mouse. Okay, let's just watch. Let's just watch all the Zerg units. So Nerchio was maxed. It was literally maxed on double upgraded Corruptor Muta. He has some links. Okay, you know. He has like a Poultry Force approach link. Okay. Now this is where it gets really bad for Nerchio. He's essentially out of money, and look how many really hard to kill units Pili has left. And all Pili, like look on this map, Abyssal Reef. If you sit in this location, you're shutting down 3 bases. This base, nope. This base, nope. This base, nope. Zerg players always have their hatcheries rallied to one place and usually hotkey all their eggs whenever they make their units. So whenever they hit their army hotkey, they're kind of moving their egged units around. This is why whenever he's sitting right here, Nerchio, like you're not seeing corruptors from here flying up here, and corruptors from over here flying over here, and here to here, and here to here. Like that's why whenever even this applies to Terran too, but having a very powerful army kind of in your mouth as Zerg is so tricky, because the way that the rally point is used on hatcheries means that whenever you're in the most peril and don't have the time to do all this arduous rally point resetting, and keep in mind it is arduous, it's like 6 different rally points and they all have to be in unique spots, and then you have to presumably use them in spots where you can coordinate attacks. For instance, like if these hatcheries have everything rallied like over here, and these all have it like up here like I was showing, and you do a big move, all of the stuff is going to attack out of sync. So Nerchio loses the first game, and I'm streaming tomorrow. Subscribe for more.